What's going on, everybody? C4 here. Today we're continuing with our 32-team 7-round mock draft series. Now we're working on the teams that don't have a first-round pick. And we're going to be starting with the Kansas City Chiefs, who don't have a first-round pick because they traded up to get Patty Mahomes, who now is going to be their clear starter. And we'll jump right into that in just 1 second, because before we jump into the mock draft, we need to look at what they did via free agency and how that's going to affect our draft board. So, what they did, we'll add by what they lost. They traded Alex Smith away to the Washington Redskins, which they brought in a player, which we'll talk about and how that affects their depth chart, which, you know, Alex Smith's time was pretty much borrowed. He was viewed as the bridge quarterback until Patty Mahomes was ready, and I guess Andy Reid and company thought that was this year. They traded Marcus Peters, which I understand from maybe a personality standpoint, but from a production and contract standpoint, and for really the value that they got from him, horrendous. Absolutely horrendous. Marcus Peters has been the best ball-hawking corner in football since he's entered the league, and massive hole has now been created there. Because Kendall Fuller has been successful, but he played a lot in the slot with the Washington Redskins. Now you're kind of be hoping that he could take over on the outside, and you know I don't doubt that he has the potential to do that, but he's not proven, truly proven on the outside. So I feel like, you know, maybe there's some uncertainty there, and maybe because of the personality clash within the locker room or what have you, cause the Chiefs to have a massive hole on their secondary. It's nice that Eric Berry's coming back, helps mitigate that a little bit, but still I can't get behind getting rid of Marcus Peters yet. Albert Wilson's gone. He was a good slot wide receiver. Ron Parker's gone. He was a starter safety. Tom Lee's gone. You know, production has dropped a little bit, but more so as a bigger name. And Zach Fulton, who was a starting offensive lineman, is now a member of the Texans. So look at what they brought in. They got Kendall Fuller in the trade for Alex Smith. Good corner, young corner with some upside. Like I said, I just don't know how well he's going to hang up on the outside. I'm pretty sure he's strictly nickel for the Washington Redskins, but and I feel like they're going with Breland and Norman on the outside. But, you know, maybe they see something I don't. They brought in David Amerson, who used to be really good with the Redskins, had a good year with the Raiders, kind of fallen off a little bit, so maybe they're seeing there's a little bit of a gamble there. They brought in Sammy Watkins on, you know, a kind of expensive deal. But, you know, if you're looking at it from an Albert Wilson to upgrade to Sammy Watkins standpoint, it's definitely an upgrade from there. And really more suited to the big arm of Patty Mahomes, getting the ball downfield with him and Tyreek Hill. And then they brought in Anthony Hitchens on a pretty ridiculous deal. I think he's getting like $9 million a year, which is not the sexiest. But, you know, he was one of the better linebackers available on the market, probably somewhere between 3 and 5 if you're ranking the top 5. So it was a decent piece of business there. So with that being said, it is now time to move into the mock draft. And starting out at first pick, which is in the second round at 54, either selecting quarterback Anthony Everett from Alabama. Looking at the roster, I think he could be cornerback 3 as a rookie and challenge for cornerback 2. If you're making the assumption that Kendall Fuller is going to play on the outside, you know, I think that Anthony Everett could be his partner. Really talented at Alabama, is versatile. Can play a lot of man, can play zone. Not a liability to anything. A lot of times you get some of these corners here, and when you get out of the first round, that kind of specialize in man or zone. I think Anthony Everett brings a good balance. He's one of those Alabama players that are coached up, so he's pro-ready, good athlete. I think ultimately, yeah, you put Kendall Fuller on one side, you put David Amerson and then on the other, and you have him battle out with maybe, say, Steven Nelson for that third corner spot. And hell, he can maybe outright win it and have David Amerson be that guy that's your depth coming off. So it could be a lot worse, but still, I just can't get over the Marcus Peters move. Moving on to the third round, pick 78, I was selecting free safety Armani Watts from Texas A&M. Now, he's one of those guys that some people do believe he could play a little nickel in the NFL. He's classified as a DB, which could be possible, but ultimately, I think you need to find a free safety now with no more Ron Parker to start. I think Armani Watts has that potential, especially in the third round. We have to look for value. Not a whole lot of third rounders have that, you know, starting potential. So a lot of them are more so the gamble picks that you know, they could start, but ideally you have them, you know, worst case scenario, start as a rotational guy and let them develop a little bit. Well, I think Watts has the coverage ability. He's probably one of the better cover safeties in this draft class to maybe beat out Leon McQuay for that starting safety role. You know, I don't know if they're going to try to maybe flex in Eric Berry and Daniel Sorensen as their 2 starting safeties. That could be a scenario there, but they want a guy that can also help coverage with Eric Berry. I think Armani Watts is a very nice value pick here at 78. Going to the third round pick at 86, I was selecting Deadrin Senat from South Florida, play nose tackle. When you look at their current nose tackles after moving on from Benny Logan, I don't have one. Haven't had one really since Benny Logan's not even a true nose tackle. Who's more of a D tackle, 4-3 type guy. Whereas they haven't really had a nose tackle since Dontari Poe left. And I think ultimately Senat, for a draft class that doesn't have, you know, true nose tackle talent after the top 2 dogs. Well, you really top one after Vita Valle, because then you kind of got Tim Settle from Virginia Tech. I think Sanaat's as close as I'm going to get. 6 feet tall, we'll say 320. Ran a 5'1", 640, 35 reps on the bench press. Just balled out at the combine. I know people think that, I think they might want to pencil him in as a 4'3" tackle. I think ultimately he does have the size and the strength to bulk up, maybe get that up into 325. And just manhandle, be a space eater, and contribute against the run. So I think ultimately might not be the smoothest fit, the perfect fit. Maybe not smoothest is the wrong word. May not be the perfect fit as a nose tackle right away. But I think when you look at his upside, you look at his build, I think he can be a nose tackle here for the Kansas City Chiefs. And that's a little low-key a position I need. And I'm very intrigued with Sanaat and his athletic prowess. Moving into the 4th round, pick 122, I was selecting wide receiver Deshaun Hamilton from Penn State. When you look at the Chiefs wide receivers, you get Tyreek Hill, you get Sammy Watkins. And then after that, it's a little bit of a crapshoot, if you will. Chris Conley's been underwhelming. Demarcus Robinson's kind of had some upside, a little bit of a sleeper for my Florida Gators. They got Jehu Chasson, who's a 4th round pick. But none of those guys really have, well, none of them have starting experience, which you're not going to get in the draft anyways, clearly. But none of those guys really have I would say, the upside right now that a lot of Kansas City Chiefs fans think, yes, that is going to be our other wide receiver right now. Because Tyreek Hill can play outside, he can play inside. He's kind of the guy you move all around. So Sammy Watkins is going to be one of your bona fide starters. But who's going to be that next guy? I think adding competition in especially the slot and over the middle guy that has great route running, great hands. Deshaun Hamilton can fill that void in. Tested better than a lot of people expect. I think he had a better pro day. I don't even know if he ran at the combine. But I do recall his pro day was pretty decent. I don't have his numbers off the top of my head. Actually, I'm going to find that right now. Ran a 4.52, which is a lot better than a lot of people expected. I think ultimately his skill set complements what they have there in Kansas City if you're just kind of viewing it as Tyreek Hill and Sammy Watkins. Moving to their 2nd, 4th round pick at 125, let's selecting cornerback Brandon Faison from Virginia Tech. Again, I still think they need to reload a little bit in that secondary. First, you got Anthony Everett, then you got Armani Watts. And again, if you view David Anderson as kind of a one-year deal, the long-term solution you have is Kendall Fuller, and you're going to have Anthony Everett at the cornerback spot. Outside of that, is Steven Nelson really that good? It seems like a lot of Kansas City Chiefs fans kind of give him crap and don't really view him as anything that special, even though he's the 3rd round pick in 2015. So ultimately, just get more bodies. Faison at points in times looked like maybe a 2nd round pick, an early day 2 pick. Consistency dropped a little bit, but he's a good athlete, presents great size. And I think that, where Kendall Fuller's not the biggest guy, Steven Nelson's not the biggest guy. Hell, even Anthony Everett's not the biggest guy. To get that little bit bigger corner, to add a little bit of, yin to the yang of what they have there in Kansas City. Anderson's the biggest corner, I would imagine, right now. He's kind of a similar build. If Anderson's not there for more than 1 year, I think a guy like Faison can take over that kind of role and get valuable minutes. Right now, as a rookie, special teamer, and like I said, I think he has upside that he could play as a rookie and not be absolutely terrible. So that's why we have him going in the 4th round. Moving on to the 6th round pick, 209. Have going outside linebacker Leon Jacobs from Wisconsin. Looking at the roster here, I think he could be one of the top outside linebacking depths. If you're going D4, Justin Houston is your starters. Then you got Passignon as depth. You get Frank Zombo as depth. I mean, Passignon was a 2nd round pick in 2017. He's a project. I assume that they're going the long-term game with that. So after that, who do they really have? A guy like Leon Jacobs, athletic monster at 6'3", 230, 235, a little bit undersized, but running a 4.48 40, 26 reps on the bench press. Tested well pretty much in every single asset. And I think that what you can get right now as a rookie out of him is a guy that can get special teams, but more so a guy that can work in as a rotational edge rusher. And, I know Justin Houston does not come off the field a whole lot, but on the other side, Rucker working in with D Ford, who was a 2014 first-round pick, maybe get a little bit of a heavy rotation, get a great athlete like Leon Jacobs coming in when the opposing team's offensive line is just starting to get a little bit tired. You might get some production there, a little low-key production. Thinking long-term here. Is D4 going to get a long-term extension? I don't know what his contract situation's like, to be completely honest with you. But ultimately, I know he hasn't lived up to that first-round billing. He had 1 year that I think he had 10 sacks, and everything else has been, some injuries, this and that. So a guy like Liam Jacobs is definitely worth the flyer just from the athletic upside alone. And then finish out the draft here in the 7th round. Either selecting at 233, wide receiver Jake Wieneke from South Dakota State. Again, get yourself a big-bodied type playmaker. 6'4.5", 215 pounds. Didn't test well at all, but his tape is very, very good. Kind of similar to Dallas Goedert in the respect that just dominated. Just absolutely dominated the competition. And we know that, whatever it is now, Div 2, whatever you call it, whatever the classification is, FBS, they're starting to get a little bit more respect when it comes to the draft. I'm not going to act like Carson Wentz started it, But now teams are starting to see, like, if these guys are dominating FBS, before they'd be like, yeah, maybe go to the CFL, maybe practice squad, stuff like that. Now these guys are becoming very, very draftable. Seems like they're coming, FBS talent's coming a little bit more in vogue, especially in the skill position spots. I think Winneke is definitely worthy of a roster spot, and kind of like Hamilton, adds a little bit different of a dimension to what they have there. If you assume the 2 stars are Tyreek Hill and Sammy Watkins, he's more so the red zone threat, and just having him, I think having him and Travis Kelce on the field is kind of a little bit of a mismatched nightmare. And to get that nightmare from a 7th round pick, that most 7th round picks are kind of considered as a roster fodder, or they might just fall on the practice squad. I think Jake Winneke in the 7th round would be a money pick here for the Chiefs. So there you go, guys. That is my 7th round Kansas City Chiefs mock draft. If you agree or disagree with any of the picks you saw here today, let me know in the comment section below. If you have your own Kansas City Chiefs mock draft, post it. We'll do a nice little side-by-side comparison. First time stopping by, don't be afraid to hit that subscribe button. Smash the like button if you enjoyed. And until next time, it's C4 saying peace out.